anal probe?
That's not a trigger, that's a delight, man. No, I'm only joking.
Okay, that didn't go very well, now did it?
Oh, God.
Episode 6, Detained of Class. Hello, I'm Dr. Freedom. I'm your host. This is the Omega Files. And, oh my God, the only way I can describe this episode in 3 words: Teenage Angstland. Bum, bum. Teenage Angstland. Bum. I'm not kidding. It just, all right, let's get intros out of the way before I throw up all over my mic. Let's start with, go ahead, Susan.
Hello, Susan here.
All right, AJ.
Hello from down under, everyone.
Okay, William.
Hey, now, how you doing, everybody?
All right, Beefhead.
The cavalcade of disappointment is carried on rolling, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Graham.
Contrary to Ram, I am a dick. How done?
Okay, Texas Tim.
Hello there.
And Philip.
Hello, what's the Polish giraffe look like?
Oh, they were going so well, and then this was bad. All right, now this is the kind of episode you would resort to if, say, you'd be like 2 or 3 seasons in, because then you'd be recapping stuff, to maybe bring in a fresh audience. It was a whole lot of crap we already knew. It was a whole lot of, oh, look, we got the rock that makes you tell the truth. Yippee skippy. That's been done how many damn times? And it just got worse and worse from there. And of course, the best part of the whole show, Miss Quill, got shrunk down to this, but that's going to be the opposite next week, apparently. All right, I want to hear your guys' views on this. Let's screw up the router a little bit. Let's start with Beefhead on this one.
Well, okay, boys and girls, I don't know if you can see this, but I do have a little bit of Me Too here. So you know that Uncle Beef can only really tell you the truth. And it was crap. I prayed for death from radiation, or that someone in a fit of anger would stove my head in. But don't worry about little Flinty. He's in an anger support group, and he's really talking through his problems. So we've got a story that involves an alien crystal, talking confessions and being guilty, where Ursa, Nom and General Zod are all sent to the Phantom Zone, and it's much better story than this crap we got this week. But we've got to talk about class. Firefly meets the Spanish Inquisition, and nobody expects that. And a moral lesson that's taken from Liar Liar, which is the truth will set you free. The idea of an alien stuck in a crystal form isn't a new one. It's a very, very old one. You've seen it in Star Trek, the original series, and Next Generation. You've even seen it in Indiana Jones. So the idea is you touch this stone and it tells you things, and then the monkeys start using tools, and that's 2001. I don't need The Rock to tell me what I already know, that Tanya doesn't matter. I'm sick of the simple Jack alien Charlie just being an idiot all the time, that April's boring, and that the change in Ram is completely unrealistic and unbelievable. Week 1, it was rocks. Week 2, it was a dragon. Week 3, it was a plant. And then the last 2 weeks, we've had rock. It's basically the BBC's most expensive form of animal, mineral, vegetable, with 20 questions thrown in this week. The idea that how they try and sum it up at the end of it, that the idea of a thought is as bad as an act, is a really crap way to sum it up and take it up, sum up the episode by the end of it. It's just a complete, utter waste of time, and nothing is resolved by the end. I had been wondering why Catherine Kelly hadn't been doing any of the promotional stuff for this, that she's been distinctly and noticeably absent. And maybe it's because she's got short shrift in this. It's only the teasers that I'm getting from her for the next episode, and hopefully that I will see something that keeps me coming back. Because had I have known what I was going to get this week, I probably would have given it a miss. I hope next week will be the only reason worth watching it, because she needs to be in this to save it. It's just a complete car crash of an episode, and it was probably one of the worst things I've seen for a very, very long time. I really disliked it, in case you hadn't guessed.
Yes, to quote Airplane, I haven't felt this bad since we saw that Ronald Reagan movie. Oh, man, it was horrible. Oh, okay. Next up, let's go with AJ.
Yeah, actually, I don't really, I didn't mind this episode. I like the opening part where the asteroids were meteors were flying through space. I like that effect. That was really cool. I guess that fragment coming through the crack at that point and shunting them into a sort of recursive dimension, which was kind of cool too, where you put your hand through the door and it comes back through the door. I didn't mind the story. I mean, yeah, the talking got boring and dragged out and whatnot, but you did learn a little bit more about the characters of how they think about each other when they're not with each other. They interactions and whatnot. So I can see what Beef was saying with, how a lot of it was quite repetitive and reused and boring. But in a way, I got to say, it's not more about the character. It was more about the prisoner that was stuck inside the rock when you look at it. So, I mean, I haven't seen those things that he was talking about with the meteor, other meteors in Star Trek and whatnot. But for me, I thought it was original. It was clever. That, a rock can be a prison for a person or an alien entity. But we did sort of get tricked a little because the teaser for this, it made it look like it was sort of like the Breakfast Club sort of episode, which it wasn't really the Breakfast Club. It was Run Screaming from Each Other Club. So other than that, I thought the episode was okay, I guess.
Teenage Angstland. I'm not kidding. The only way this thing could have gotten more Breakfast Club is if they had Catherine Kelly come in the end as Miss Quill and go, I thought I heard a ruckus. You mess with a bull, you get the horns. I'm not kidding. It was just, I just could not get into this episode. I had to fight to stay awake. I really did. I had to down, I don't know how many glasses of freaking strongest tea I've ever made in my life just to stay awake to this episode. It bored the shit out of me. Okay, let's go on to William.
Well, one of the few pops I got to give it that this story was much better than last week's episode. So that's the only pop I'm going to give it. Well, the funny thing is when you notice little things in the episode, like for instance, you hear Tanya complaining that she's 14 years old. Well, all of the other people besides Charlie, but he's an alien, all the other people, they should know that, but they themselves at one time was 14 years old. So they're trying to explain to her about it, and she gets such a hissy fit that makes no sense. I said, because I got the funny feeling that she's so smart that she doesn't understand the real world the way it is. Either that or she's letting her mom control everything that she does. The only question that popped up is that when everybody was automatically locked in detention, we see Mateus grabbing his phone and calling. Who is he calling? He ain't calling his parents. They kicked him out. So who is he calling? Everybody else is in the detention with him. That made no sense right there. Unless Beef and somebody said we gotta find out who he really is like that. Because, that's a little bit weird. Even one of this guy said it. Ram, he said, who he is like that. Why you always around us like that? We're questioning him. Then the concept about the meteorite, asteroid, whatever was a prison like that. Yeah, we've seen it before in other science fiction. Like, a bunch of us are all over 30 years old. We have either seen it or read it in one place or another. So that that concept we'll get bald, and don't be surprised if it gets bald again in a future TV show, whichever it is. But the thing is, when each one of them has it on the stone on them, what stood out is the truth that they told. Like Ram admitting that he does love this girl and she doesn't love him back. And when she grabbed it, it turned out to be the truth. That between them. So what happened between those two? You know what? I don't care. I'm not so fond of that relationship because like I said last week, we're not seeing other students in the from the school like that because it's more. I know it's called class. Like once again, they're in school. And only the 5 of them are in detention. Nobody else got locked up in detention from his squirrel? Why she's only figuring that made no sense. I like Jesus, man. This Miss Quill's a teacher, and she got more than 5 students in that class, so she had to put more than 5 in detention. That made no sense there. One of the good things I get, like you could say another good thing was near the end that we finally see Miss Quill use a weapon, so we know that her next week episode is how, because she gave the Charlie the little parasites out of her. So what does it mean for her? And besides the next week's episode, what was going to happen to her after that? We will find out. The thing is, I think this one is this episode was like say done on the low budget to save like we always see that last episode goes with a big bang and special effects is used and all that. So you can see that this episode was made for that specific purpose to save some money. What did it succeed? No and yes, because not everybody liked it, and only a few good things stood out from it. So that's gonna bite them in the rear later on if it gets picked up.
I'm not kidding. This episode, I think the best part was the credits rolled. I could not get into it. I really, really tried. Look, it's the classic everybody's stuck in one room and everybody hates each other, everybody has secrets type thing. I was like, oh. Okay, Philip, you're up next. Go ahead. Okay.
Just to hit on Will's thing about the phone with Mateus, unless he was just trying to see if he can get a signal from it, from wherever they were. And that's probably what you were just trying to do.
No, he hit speed dial. He was calling somebody specifically. And he had no signal. But he hit dial. So when you be watching, his button is automatically dialing a number.
Okay, fair enough. Overall for this story, you know what this story reminded me of? It reminded me of the last assignment in Sapphire and Steel where they're trapped in that diner kind of thing. That's the way it came across to me. I was like, oh, this is like a little borrow from that. I did kind of, at first I thought it was like an amateur dramatics play going on here. I was like, oh, it's just like me watching people doing a play on the stage. And then when it gets to the point where I think it was Charlie that picked up the stone, and then it started getting a bit more upbeat. And then I thought, okay, fair enough, it's going somewhere now. But it was a bit slow and it was a bit wordy, and I just thought it was a filler of an episode to, as Will said, to make up for the next one that comes along, because they cut down on the budget on this one just to beef up the next one. So it's just kind of like a learning curve, kind of. And like you said, like everybody said, we know about these people already, and we're hearing little bits and pieces that we already heard of. And yes, again, they mentioned that the mother's, April's mum is a walking woman again. I don't know how they're going to realise that now, considering she's supposed to be a real life disabled person. But we'll get to that point another time. Overall, I don't know, it's okay, but it was a bit kind of claustrophobically done.
I know, it was kind of like, I'll just hold back. Graham, go ahead.
Gather round me, people. There's a story I must tell about a claustrophobic alien in his classroom cell. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This would have worked had every idea and nuance within this story not been done to death. And we weren't hearing rehash after rehash after rehash of what we already knew. And unfortunately, that's what we got here. The best thing about this episode, Catherine Kelly coming in with blood dripping down her eye. And then the credits rolled. Other than that, all standard formula, teenage angst. And, right, it was a struggle. And I've got nothing else. Sorry, I need beer.
Okay. Let's go to Susan.
All right. I just watched it, and I'm kind of I was hoping for Breakfast Club type thing, but it didn't happen. It just totally didn't happen. Like, there was nothing Breakfast Clubby about it at all. And prison idea was cool, but the displacement of a whole room, I mean, somebody on the outside must have noticed. Even and the whole idea that they were the only ones in detention, also reiterating this as say what, and a I mean, the characters, you know, they didn't give anything more about the characters, and I don't know. It was like finding the most guilty. I mean, in terms of the reason for the imprisonment, it was murder, and they thought that they could replace the young prince with the murderer. I mean, like that whole, you know, trade places with him is just bogus. I mean, doesn't fly according to me. And let me see, what's the other thing? The other thing was that the anger amongst the 5 classmates, 6 classmates for each other, back and forth, that got to be a little stupid. If you know you're getting angry and you cannot control it, you know, that's I mean, what kind of characters are we developing here? Ones who aren't really able to actually control the destiny of Earth, the destiny of even Coal Hill School. They can't manage themselves. How can they manage anything other than themselves? That's my question, and that's where I'm leaving it.
I know, it's like we've been better off leaving the fate of the universe with the Marx Brothers. Okay. Tim, are you back?
He's muted.
Oh, well, we'll get to him in a minute. It's just, I could not believe this. I was like, I sat down and I was like, all right, it's kind of like 12 Angry Men going wrong. I just can't even find words to describe this. I really tried to hang on to it.
The problem there, freedom there. In the middle of Angry Men, they're arguing because they're jurors in a case. So that's why they had the legit beef to argue with each other. Some of the things that they did, like say, especially with Tanya being a 14-year-old girl, she had the only thing her guilty was that she took candy when she was a kid like that. I said that made no sense. And then she got an attitude with everybody. I was shocked the way she was using a lot of racial overtone with the other character. Like, wow.
Oh yeah, they played that way too damn much. This is getting old.
I was like, whoa.
What was that? Your white supremacist happy ending? I'm like, well, what the hell? Jeez.
And especially the name calling she gave Mateus, like, dang.
I know, it's getting to the point I'm halfway expecting to see Tanya come walking on the campus wearing a Black Panther beret and shit. Okay, it's getting like crazy. All right, let's go to Texas Tim while he's still with us. Go ahead, Tim. Your view on this.
I think it started out okay, but then I think you're right. It got a little tiresome with all the bickering back and forth. You should have had a little bit more of the alien presence speaking to them and stuff. That might have made it a little more worthy. I really didn't get the point of it. It seemed like they were trying to make you dislike the characters by some of the things you were just mentioning. Like, I know they were out of character, but I mean, why are they, by the end of the episode, they're all so sick of each other, they all just walk away. And,
Speaking of walking away, yeah.
Meanwhile, the drive-through just went off. Yeah.
I get what Tim is saying, and I can see what the attempt was to do, and the execution was just appalling. The idea is that by this time you've got the group together, and this is the episode that splits them all apart, and they all hate each other by the end of it. But the problem is going into this, you do not have a cohesive group, and by the end of it, you don't really care because you're no way further along. And if you haven't got a start point, then you can't really have an end point. And all props to the actors and everything like that. The effects, the way it looked was everything nice and everything like that. But it's the writing again, and the problem I had with, I think, right, okay, it's easy to stand here and just dump all over it because it's very easy to do. But okay, what would you do to make it better? Now, what would I have done to make it better? I don't purport to be a writer. Other people on the internet do that. But I would have done, if it was me, is I would have had one like a Judas in it. You would have to have a Judas in it. And if you had someone and that they had turned around and they had wailed on someone, that the anger had got the better of them and they had beaten the living crap out of someone, then that would have made it more dramatically effective. You would have had more of a feeling of threat. And the thing is, you can't necessarily pick that. You can't have violence against women, you can't have violence against children, and you can't necessarily have violence against a minority or a sexual group or anything like that. So you are really screwed on that, because you've tried to tick so many social politico boxes that you couldn't actually deliver through on dramatic influence. So that, I think, you do lose that. And the other thing I did find with this, the one thing I did notice, is that with Mateus, they tend to steer away from the gay term. They didn't say coming out. They're very easy to sort of make these sort of grand ideas about, you know, liberal sexuality, but they actually dodge using what are correct and proper terms for it. And it just seemed to be sort of, you know, very superficial all over.
Okay, back to Tim. You want to add more to that, Tim?
I just think it could have been a lot better. I think it ended up being a bit too much of the bickering back and forth. It really made you tired of these characters. It's almost as if you were in the room with them. It's like they should have just. I think they should have focused more on the alien threat and made it a little more spooky. I wouldn't say it was that horrible of an episode. It was definitely better than the last couple. But I think it needed something more to make it more interesting. And I think at the end of the episode, you really don't even care about these people anymore. And you want to see, I mean, the surprise was that next week you're going to see what she was up to while this was going on. Yeah. And that looks a hell of a lot more interesting than what happened in this episode. So it is what it is. I mean, we don't know where this is going. There's 2 episodes left. It just seems like this was a waste of time. Yeah,
you've really got to fault the writing here, because when I see the format of this particular episode, it flashes me back to, anyone remember this title? Midnight, Tennant, Doctor Who. Brilliant episode. It's a group of people trapped in one confined space, but the suspense, the terror, it was all real. You could really oh my God, you feel for these people in here. In this particular case, I didn't give a damn about any of these guys by the time it was over. Okay, AJ, you've had your hand up, then we'll go to Susan.
Yeah, first point, you took my Midnight reference. Second point, the reason why I think she locked the 5 characters in the room is because she was going off to do her thing, to get the thing out of her head. That is a reason. She was detaining them so she can go off and do her thing without them knowing about it. That's the only.
I'd agree with that.
Okay.
Sorry.
The episode that it tried to, it was sort of midnight-ish, but the episode that it tried to, I saw it, because of the already established classroom set was Edge of Destruction and the first Doctor episodes where they're stuck in the TARDIS, the door opens, something comes in or whatever, they think that something comes in, and everybody gets it on each other's nerves, and everybody doesn't trust each other. But for some reason, that one actually made me want to care more about these characters. When Susan is threatening Ian or Barbara, I mean, it's just like, you actually care about Ian and Barbara, and you actually care about Susan, and you care about the Doctor. And so that's really what I was hoping for also, but no.
Oh, Susan was mentioned. Sorry, folks, it was Susan Finania. Get up, you.
In regards to about someone saying about Quill locking the door so she can go and do what she's got to do, she could have done that any time during the day. I don't think it was necessary that she did that because she got.
We might find out next week. We don't know exactly what she goes to do. So I mean, it may have something.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just saying it might have something to do with the 5 of them. So we don't know. We don't know what she's going to do. It looks like they're not going to be in it by the promo, but I mean, we have to wait and see what happens. It looks better than this.
She was going to get the thing taken out of her head, and I don't think she wanted any of them interfering, because she knew if even Mateus had been out, he'd have picked up the phone and go, she's up to some shit. So that's why I think it was these deliberate 5 were put in that room. She had no idea they were going to get sucked off to another dimension and bore the living crap out of us for 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't put it any other way. But yeah, great reference there, Susan. Yeah, all the way back to the first series. Brilliantly written, brilliantly executed. But this episode attempted that same format and it failed.
This episode has nothing to do with that. This is not even a Doctor Who spinoff anymore. This is basically a cut price Buffy the Vampire Slayer revisited, and without the humor. It's just I don't know what they're, like I said, I don't know what they're trying to do. But they made you dislike every character in the show except Mrs. Quill by the end of the episode.
I don't know. I think I had a bit more respect for Mateus because he had a bit more to show for himself in sense of characterization.
Well, yeah, but remember, he's still keeping. I think he's still keeping.
That's what's good,
the one who stood out in this episode, it have to be Charlie, because at least he admitted how he felt with Mateus and how he feels with the other people. And that's how come he was the last one. They had so much guilt inside him that's why he was able to do.
Yeah. That age-old moment where guilt crushes a rock. Yeah.
Yeah, but where he says, on Rhodia, a thought is as bad as an action. It's sort of like, no, that don't cut it, son.
So if I think I'm bad,
if you said it was survivor guilt, then fine, it's not. But the thing is, because I thought about killing the Shadow King, that makes me a bad man. It's like, no, sorry, get to the back of the queue. Do you know what I mean?
The only thing that I was made my eyebrow go. I was like, he murdered somebody? Who the hell was that? And again, we're getting the answer.
No, this is the thing. Because he thinks about murdering the Shadow King, it's as bad as.
No, I'm talking about the guy in the rock. When he's holding the rock.
The prisoner.
Yeah. Apparently, Charlie says murderer, and I'm going, what?
Yeah, and every prison must have a prisoner, and and the Dutchman must have a captain. See you later.
Don't you think maybe they're just aiming this at under 20s though, and maybe we shouldn't even bother because we've already seen it all done before in different ways. It's kind of the thing, but maybe we are watching a kid's show and we're like, this is kind of dumb. So it doesn't really challenge you as an adult viewer or an over.
Well, to be honest with you, when I watched it back for the second time, my daughter.
I can't believe you did that.
Yeah, right. I had to. At the end of the day, I watched it and thought, am I not getting something? Have I missed something? So
Glutton for punishment, man.
I watched it the second time and sort of like, no, it really is that bad. And as I was doing it, my 15-year-old daughter walked in and sort of looked and said, are you watching Class? She knows what it is because I forced her to watch the first episode. Thankfully, I haven't forced her to watch the other ones afterwards. And she looked at it and just went, she stood there for a couple of minutes, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? If it can't appeal to a 15-year-old, then you're sort of losing your market because that is the bracket you're looking for. Is anywhere between I would say 14 to 17, 18, something like that. Your Snapchat, your Instagram, your social media savvy group, and if it's not engaging for them, then it's.
Yeah, but that's just one instance. That's just one instance, though. Your daughter, just one instance.
Well, everybody's different, though. But
that's what I'm saying.
No, but I'm putting it to their target demographic, and if it's not pointing on that, then it's sort of, and not being funny. We're sort of a little bit advanced in years and everything like that for what they're expecting. If it ain't working with us and it ain't working with them, then where is it doing it? Because it ain't doing it anywhere.
Good point.
I just find it ironic this episode was called Detained and my level of interest was detained. Big go figure.
I felt deranged.
Yeah.
I felt my IQ points being drained.
Again, we've spoken about it before. Constant rehash. And again, they're focusing too much on the main two relationships. You're like, we've been here before. This isn't a psychology course.
If anything, it just highlights what we can read into it. That it's the Ram-April relationship is not believable.
Because he just lost his girlfriend back in the first episode. That was how many weeks ago? Even in their time, it was probably just 5 weeks.
2 months or something. Yeah,
2 months.
Is he really in love with another girl? Like really in love, or was he also just not saying what he was supposed
Oh,
to say.
supposedly it's true. The Rock tells her so. But she turns around and says, "I can't believe your change is so quick." Yeah, that's because that's what we think as viewers, because it's completely just not. This isn't like we pick the nerdy girl out and we change her and take her to prom at the end of this. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, I've got to say, if Ram's in love with her after that short length of time, he must be one hell of a dam buster.
It's just hard to believe any teenager that professes, everlasting love for anybody. They're teenagers, so they're going to change their mind next week. It's not. It's just unbelievable to begin with. So I mean, and you're right. They keep hitting those two stupid relationships over, and it's like, is it trying to be a soap as well? I mean, it's just tiresome. By about halfway through, you're like, come on, get on with it. What is going on here? Hurry up.
And Charlie and Mateus, all right, again, guys, we're not in any way, shape or form being disrespectful or homophobic or whatever you want to call it, everybody doing their own personal time, their preference. But how many times is it going to be an intimate conversation between these two? I mean, we get it, okay. Yes, I like to bump ugly. Move on.
I got a feeling Mateus is some sort of spy, maybe like from Unit or Torchwood or something like that.
No, but the thing that this is where I found it completely unbelievable is where you have Mateus and say, my grandmother came to me and said, tell me the truth. So I had to tell her about how I was. And it's not like, hang on a second. I know quite a few gay people. Yeah, there's even one with us tonight. Maybe two. You never know. One in every But what they do is, it's a case of, I came out. I told her I was gay. It just wasn't believable. And I believe Patrick Ness is gay. I don't know, I could be right, I could be wrong.
I believe
he is. Yeah, but so for him to write a character of that sexuality that just comes across so unbelievably, and it doesn't, I don't actually think Mateus's parents kicked him out. He just said, I'm not getting on with my family. And Charlie says, come live with us. But he's
bunk up with me, boy.
He's even changing his own backstory in the course of an episode just through sloppy attention to detail. And it's just the writing is daft.
Anyone else?
I still think he wrote two pretty good books that I've listened to. I'm not gonna. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I mean, everybody has their off days. So you're right. If the script isn't solid, then the episode's not going to be solid. It starts with the script. So I mean, it doesn't matter how it's directed or how it's acted, because these aren't bad actors.
Yeah. Well, like I said last week, I think he probably works better in a book format. Phil's read the books for the class books, and they work better. Maybe he just can't make the leap to screenplay.
Or it could be that, Patrick Ness, from what I've heard, he's a brilliant writer. I have yet to read any of his stuff myself, but sometimes stuff doesn't translate to the screen very well. Take a look at like 3/4 of any movies that were made based off Stephen King novels. It just happens that way sometimes. Maybe it's just he had trouble bringing this to screen. You see, everything always looks like a great idea when it's on paper, but then it goes to screen, it gets filmed, and you're like, oh, that didn't work.
Well, as we briefly touched upon last week, we've got 2 episodes left after tonight, man. And these better be whoppers. Otherwise, this thing's in limbo and it might be done. It might be done.
Just ask J. Michael Straczynski about a little episode of Babylon 5 called Gray 17 is Missing. It looked great on paper. That's his exact word. It looked great on paper, but then when we started filming it...
Can I ask you guys, though, what you think? Because the thing is, we've obviously had all the social media assault and everything like that about the show that we've all been privy to. But the one person that we've never really seen in any of this is Catherine Kelly.
Yeah.
That's true.
Why?
She might have had some work lined up for after this that was too busy for her to do anything with this. I mean,
sorry to cut you off. I've got a funny feeling she was filming something simultaneously with us. It might explain why she's in it very little.
It could be, because from what I've read about her, she's definitely a jobbing actress. She's, very well known over there across the pond. So
I don't think that she was focused on in any. I think it's always been focused on the students, all the social media. I just think that that's a decision that BBC Three made, and that the that the creators made is a decision.
I gotta agree with Grant, but I looked it up about Catherine Kelly, and she is doing 2 other series this year. So how
there's one
how the scheduling was done with Class, that's gonna be Holly Sear.
She probably had like a 5 or 6 week window, and she went and filmed all her scenes, and that was it. So.
I mean, to be fair to her, if she's fell out with anybody at Disney show, she promotes the hell out of the thing on her Twitter feed. So, yeah, what I've seen. So
I hope she comes back, because that would be the only reason I think to pull it back at the moment.
Well, like Graham has said a couple of million times, if it doesn't come back for a second series, it's okay. You got a one-off 8-episode miniseries. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it started out really well. The show did, but it just seems like they kind of lost their way, and it's not the show that any of us want to watch. Really, I don't think so.
Well, if the show doesn't come back, at least have Miss Quill appear in the episode of Doctor Who, where you can have her face off with Missy. Let those 2 knuckleheads go at it.
There you go. Yeah, why not?
Well, apparently it's going to be in the episode of Doctor Who, apparently, so I don't know what.
All I say is, on the plus side, now she's got I love the bit where she just tosses it in a Ziploc bag. To be honest with you, that's not a nice little touch, but yeah. At least I hope now that she has her free will back as well. You do.
Well, she does, doesn't she? She can use the gun. I mean,
yeah, but you do have that option then, I suppose, that she's an independent character now. So if you wanted to do something with her in the future, if this doesn't amount to anything, that you do have that as a potential recurrence.
Yeah, you can bring her in at any time. She's an established character now, so why not? Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's going to definitely change the dynamic, because she's no longer going to have to answer to Charlie. It's going to be like, yeah, I've got the gun now, bastard. So that's one thing that's got me looking forward to next week. And it's kind of sad, too, because they started off on a high note, then they just went right down into the canyon. It's,
Don't you think it's a bit sad that we're all kind of like pro Quill, but the rest of them go hang themselves?
Again, it's not the actor's fault, it's the writing.
It's not
I'm not pro or con any particular character in the show. I honestly don't have you've never heard me utter those positions at all. I don't prefer Quill to anybody else, but I don't think that they've done very well with such a short amount of episodes. They haven't been able to grab me yet. I'm waiting for them to grab me. They haven't made it like Doctor Who did.
They haven't made it a cohesive group. It's not a believable group. So if you haven't got a group, then you look at individuals, and that is the most interesting, energetic character within it.
And sadly, the character I do feel the most for is Miss Quill, who's been on the screen the freaking least.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was about to ask. Do you think maybe because she's been so scarce throughout the entire run of 6 so far, maybe that's why we're like saying that she's the best character, because we've seen more than enough of the other 5? So,
probably.
That makes sense.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, getting back to Beef's point about not being a cohesive unit, God, he's right. My God, you get more cohesiveness out of the women in the cell block H.
I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that they're so on the nose with the characterization that you've seen it all before, and you're like, really? Okay.
Yeah. That's again.
Like predictable. You're like, really? Stop trying to cram these 2 relationships down our throat. Okay, we get it. They get off.
Yeah.
Fine. That was, it's like they want to talk about it every episode. Oh yes, I really love you. Oh no, I don't love you. You're full of shit.
Yeah, I want to talk about my feelings. Yeah, sorry folks, I don't want that question answered. What's it like to shag an alien? Move on. Thank you.
And for people who may disagree with us, we're not opposed to wordy episodes. Generally, on the whole, we like Night Visiting, which was a talky, wordy episode. But this was just executed extremely badly.
Night Visiting had a point there.
Yeah. Also, Night Visiting had some character development. Night Visiting had some, suspense, some actual drama, and just the right amount of tension. This one just could not hold itself together. It just did not work.
And Catherine Kelly driving the bus. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. All right. Anybody else before we rate this sucker and put it to bed?
I say we hit the bar.
Okay, let's go ahead and belly up and get this over with. All righty, let's start with Susan.
I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Wish I could give it more, but I can't.
All right, AJ?
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I like the special effects in this episode.
All right, Texas Tim?
I'll give it a 6. Yeah, it could have been a lot better. It should have been a lot better. It's like Tim said, the script isn't there. So.
All right, Graham?
I'm being lenient, very lenient. 5.
Ooh, okay. William?
I mean, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I mean, it was better than last week's, and some things did pretty good, especially the beginning of the episode.
All right, Beefhead?
I'm going to say 2.5 for every minute Catherine Kelly was on screen.
He ain't far off the mark. His way to your
By
mind.
far the worst yet.
All right, Philip?
I'm going to go with everybody else and give it a 6 out of 10. So it's all right, but a 6 would do it.
Meh.
Meh.
And that's being generous.
3. Wow.
I gave it a 3. This episode was horrible. It was a train wreck. Matter of fact, no, train wrecks aspire to be this chaotic. It was just horrible. I'm not kidding. The execution was horrible. The writing was horrible. It's like, ooh, teenage Angstland. Ooh.
We can only hope for better for next week. Quill us up, people. Quill us up. Yeah.
You might be getting a rude slap in the face with the cruel one.
Okay, next week. If I can get this thing to work. Nope, I did. Okay. Episode 7, The Metaphysical Engine, or What Quill Did.
Or both.
Yep. Well, that's the actual title, believe it or not. The Metaphysical Engine, or What Quill Did. So hopefully they get things back on track, because from what we're hearing about the fact that due to the BBC's failure to advertise this show, they really have not gone out of their way to put it out there. And the views on it are dismal online. All I can say is this: they better get things rolling. They better start really advertising this. Otherwise, it's just going to seem to me like, all right, this was the spinoff we threw out to get slaughtered. I'm not kidding. It's I don't know. They just
I don't know what you expect them to do at this point. It's only got 2 episodes left. I mean, if they promoted the hell out of it now, it wouldn't do anything.
It's looking like, here, kids, there's your filler till Christmas.
Yeah. Because I don't know, unless things dramatically improve viewer-wise and all that, and especially, with the plots and all that going downhill, I don't see Series 2 happening. I'll put it to you this way, folks. If you're out there watching, you got about the same chance of getting a Ghostbusters sequel as you do another series out of this at this point.
Ooh.
Yeah, well done, Kirsten Wig, whenever that happens. Yeah. Okay.
Matter of fact, they're going to announce it on Saturday Night Live. But okay.
Wow. I ain't afraid of no ghost here.
Until next time, kids, I've got to get out here because the vomitarium's about to open, and I definitely got a load for them. So good night.
No more angst.
Sacrifice Aslan at Cair Paravel.